What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel, Pete's Carport. So if you've been tuning in, I picked up a 1967 Mercedes 200D, and it's been a blast these last couple of days just going through it and just kind of figuring out what's next. So, like I promised you guys before, the next step is to get it started before we continue with any of the breakdown and redoing of the sheet metal, the seats, and all that stuff. That's going to be the fun part once we get done with this, but she needs to start first. So, what I did was went down and picked up a remote starter, and we're going to link that to the starter of the car and the battery. Now, the gentleman that had the vehicle before me had said he got it started, and what he did was linked a cable to the glow plugs, and that allows the glow plugs to get hot, and then we can prime it. He said there was enough gas in there to get it started. I know it's not great gas, so I'm just going to basically use a diesel spray. Once this thing starts, we're probably going to shut her down pretty quickly because I just want to see if she starts. I checked the engine oil. We're good on that. There is a tiny bit of coolant in here, but we just want to see if I can get her to crank over, and I would love to hear your guys' feedback, so stay tuned. We're going to get this going. Alright guys, so the first step is to obviously get yourself a battery, and we want to test to make sure that the starter and the starter solenoid is going to work. So what you're going to do is basically jump the solenoid, and how I did that was I took the jumper switch that I showed you guys earlier, attached a positive cable to one end of the clip. And if you see down in here, that top post is where I'm going to touch that to, and that's going to have power. And then the other end of my clip is going to be attached to the black wire, and that's going to jump the solenoid. Now, I'm going to be straight honest with you guys. I just tested it because I wanted to make sure everything was functioning before trying to film a bunch of things. And the car, ironically, was in gear. So you absolutely want to make sure it's not in gear. The car jumped forward on me. The good news is it worked. The bad news is it could have jumped pretty far forward on you. So you want to make sure always when you're doing this, the car is not in gear. I don't even know how my car got in gear. I'm guessing when I was moving around the seats, putting them back in, I must have pushed the car into gear. The other good thing is it went to take off pretty heavily, so that means that the transmission seems to be engaging pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to show you guys how the starter should sound when it engages. Okay, so you guys can see how the car wants to crank over, which is awesome news. That means that the engine is freed up. The starter is engaging. So the next step now is going to be to make sure our glow plugs are working. Now, I cheated a little bit on this off camera too, and hooked up the wire directly from the positive to the end of our coil here. And it's got a little hot, but it wouldn't maintain the heat. And this is very corroded. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut off here. I'm going to sand down all of the components here, get the wire back on here, and we should be good to go. And what we're going to do is we've got to heat this up first, okay? And once this reaches full temperature, we can then prime the engine, and we're going to spray our diesel spray, which I stuck back in the car here. I need to go down and get a spray nozzle, which I'm going to do right now, and we're going to spray some of this to basically get the to jump the start, and we're going to need to cover this as we're starting it to allow proper air and fuel ratio, and we might be able to get this thing to turn over today. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and round everything up. I'm probably going to grab some more gas. The gentleman who had it before me said the vehicle, he ran it for like 10-15 minutes and he thinks it ran out of gas, so I want to put some fresh gas in there and maybe some gas additive. I did check the oil. The oil fluid level looked good. Obviously it's old oil. We're not going to run this too long. I just want to see if we can get it started. Once we crank it over, then we're going to change all the fluids, the oil. We're going to make sure that the radiator is functioning, and we're going to go from there. All right, good news. I went ahead and cleaned the terminals, and it looks like the glow plug is getting fully red. So let's go ahead and start priming it. Let's see if we can get, I'm going to go ahead and spray it with the diesel purge, and we're going to try to crank it over. Let's go ahead and do that now. Alright guys, so the first attempt was unsuccessful, so I just went down and picked up some diesel fuel. I filled the tank up with about 3 gallons, and I've got a spray bottle here. I've sprayed a little bit right into basically our throttle body here, and I primed it for about a few minutes. I've already got the your glow rod connector there lit up, so let's go ahead and kick on the starter and see what we get. All right, I'm going to go ahead and spray a little bit of the diesel fuel down in here. Had to reconnect the battery over there to get the glow rod to turn on. And she's fired up. Woo! You guys saw it first, and it didn't take much. We got her back up and running. Wow, that's awesome. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and shut her down. I don't want to run it too long, but that is awesome, and she's running nice. Look at that. All right, let's go ahead and shut her down. I'm just gonna close off the area. And that was successful. Awesome, guys. Like, subscribe, share. Let me know in the comments what you think. It's getting a little late, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day, but I am so excited we just got her fired up. This is a 1967 Mercedes 200D that really hasn't run in quite some time. The previous owner told me he got it started, but I had no definite proof. So that is awesome. The engine is running.